The stapler hit the oak door so hard it sounded like a gun went off. I was standing on the porch, dust in my hair, drywall on my arms, when Inspector Vance Harrow pressed a bright orange notice flat against the wood. He smoothed the corners with his fingers like he was sealing a coffin. "You have until the 1st of the month," he said. "After that, the bank pulls the loan and the house gets seized." The old porch boards creaked behind him. Elena Sterling stood in the doorway in a thin white camisole, a light robe hanging loose around her like she had forgotten to tie it. Late afternoon sun came in over her shoulder and turned the dust in the air into gold. Her feet were bare. Her spine was straight. She looked calm. I could feel the fear anyway. It sat between us like a live wire. Vance let his gaze move over her, then over me, then back to the orange paper. A small, greedy smile tugged at his mouth. "Tell your staging friends you tried," he said. "Tell your investors the numbers didn't work out." I wiped drywall dust from my forearm. The smell of cut pine and wet earth clung to my shirt. "She hired me to fix the house, Vance," I said. "Not sell it to your brother-in-law for pocket change." This time he met my eyes. "Big job for a one-man crew, Liam. Especially on a clock." He tapped the notice. "One delayed inspection. One permit that needs more review. The bank freezes the next draw. Investors get nervous. Deadline hits. Then this place is a bargain." He stepped off the porch, his boots heavy on the stairs. "Trying not to get sentimental. People do. They make stupid choices." Elena's hand lifted to the doorframe. Her knuckles went white. I could see the tiny tremor in her fingers. I shifted closer, not touching her, just close enough that she could feel I was there. "You're not alone," I said, low. Her hazel eyes met mine for half a second. Under the fear there was steel. Then she looked back at the orange notice like it was on fire. I had not planned to come back to Briar Glen. After the divorce, after my crew split and the big city jobs dried up, I swore I was done with small towns and their stories. I'd told myself I would stay in the city, keep my head down and treat feelings like loose nails. You pick them up before they punch through your boot. Then a buddy texted me, "Small town job. Good money, owner's desperate." I showed up with a ladder, a toolbox, and one rule I'd lived by for years. Do not date clients. Do not blur lines. Do not make promises you cannot keep. Then Elena opened the door. She was 44, sharp eyes, calm voice, dressed in tailored control the first time I saw her. The house behind her was a mess. Sagging roof line, stained ceiling, the faint smell of old water in the walls. But she stood there like a woman who refused to lose. She ran a staging company out of the city. Investors behind her, deadlines marked in red. She talked in numbers, returns, schedules. Every word sounded like a plan. And she was Chloe's mom. Chloe, the girl I dated for 3 months in high school. The one who slammed a locker on my hand and told half the junior class. One broke her heart. She moved to Chicago. I left for the city. We never looked back. Elena sat with my estimate at the old parlor table, pen in hand like it was a weapon. 3 weeks, she said. Can you do it? Quote, I glanced at the cracks in the ceiling, the warped boards on the porch, the kitchen that smelled like mildew. I heard Vance's voice in my head, smooth and smug. I saw that orange paper on the door. I should have said no. I can, I said, but it will be brutal, it will be loud, and it will be tight. I can handle loud, she said. Her voice dipped for the first time. I cannot handle losing this house. She slid a folder across the table, loan papers, investor briefs, a printed timeline with dates highlighted in angry yellow. If the bank freezes the next draw, I cannot pay any contractor. If I cannot pay, work stops. If work stops, my firm is dead. The way she said dead made it sound like more than a company. She held out her hand. It was businesslike. I took it anyway. Her grip was firm, her palm cool. She did not let go until I nodded. On day 2, Vance did not bother knocking. He walked in through the open door like he owned the place, clipboard under his arm and that same confident smirk. Elena, he called, sweet as sugar. Thought I'd check progress. Make sure our contractor friend here is qualified. Elena came out of the kitchen with a mug of coffee. The smell hit me first, strong, no cream, no sugar, like she needed every sharp edge of it just to stand. I hired Liam because he is competent, she said. Vance's eyes moved over the drop cloths I had laid down to protect the floor, the neatly stacked tools, the labeled lumber. He made a show of studying it, soaking it in. Competent, he repeated. Investors love that word. He leaned in just a little. The bank does too. They put that, competent management, clause in for a reason. Elena's jaw tightened. Get out of my house. I am just doing my job, he said. He turned to me. You keep working, kid. But remember, this is not a romance novel. This town eats stories, especially the ones with a younger man and an older woman and money on the line. Elena did not flinch. Door, she said. He left, boots loud all the way down the porch. When he was gone, she let out a long breath through her nose. He's delaying my permits, she said. Can he do that? I asked. He can try, she answered. He knows the clerks. He knows who signs what. He knows exactly how to slow someone down without leaving fingerprints. She took a drink of coffee and set the mug down like it weighed too much. I have a video call with my investors tonight, she said. I cannot show up looking like a woman whose house is about to be seized. Then don't, I said. Show up like a woman with a plan. That made her eyes flick to mine, sharp and surprised, like she wasn't used to anyone talking to her like she could win. That night, I worked in the hallway while she took the call in the office. I could hear her voice through the door. Calm, smooth, convincing. I heard her laugh once, light and practiced. She sounded like a woman who had everything under control. When she stepped out, her shoulders dropped. How was it? I asked. I promised them an open house, she said. A big one, a statement. If I miss the date, they pull their money. No pressure, I said. The wind rattled the window. I tasted sawdust on my tongue. Pressure is fine, I added. Deadlines are honest. People aren't. The first week was not romantic. It was war. Rotten boards came out in splinters. New boards went in, solid and clean under my hands. The sander screamed through the halls, shaking dust from the beams. The house felt like it was waking up. On Thursday, the front hall ceiling finally gave up. It did not crash down in a big dramatic way. It just sighed and dropped a sheet of plaster right where Elena was walking with a paint tray. I moved without thinking. The plaster hit my shoulder and exploded across the floor. Dust filled the air, dry and bitter. Elena froze for half a second, then stepped back. The tray stayed level in her hands. Not one drop spilled. You okay? I asked. I'm fine, she said. Her voice was steady, but her fingers shook. Tiny tremors. The kind you only see when you are looking for cracks. I did not say anything. I went to my truck, grabbed a clean cloth and a pair of safety goggles, and set them on the counter in front of her. She stared at them, then at me. Thank you, she said. The words came out rough, like she was not used to saying them for herself. That afternoon I fixed the loose stair rail she always reached for without thinking. She did not ask me to. I just knew she needed it solid. My mom used to call it acts of service. She said some people said I love you with words. Others said it with work. By the end of the week, a routine settled in, quiet and dangerous. I started at dawn. By 7:30, a mug of coffee waited on the porch rail. Black. 2 sugars. Exactly how I drank it. She never said anything about it. She just put it there. I started doing my own small things. I left a folded towel by the back door on rainy mornings because I noticed she wiped her hands on her robe when she was stressed. I swapped out her flickering light bulbs because bad lights made the wiring look worse than it was. I taped plastic over a cracked window before the storm rolled in. It was not romance. It was maintenance. It was care hiding inside competence. Even so, the air kept tightening. One afternoon, I was working on the roof when my hammer slid out of reach. My tool belt was on the other side of the ridge. Before I could call down, the ladder creaked. Here, Elena said. She climbed halfway up and stretched her arm up with the hammer. Our fingers brushed around the handle, just skin on skin for a second. No real touch, no squeeze. We both pulled back like the metal burned us. Wind rattled the gutter. Somewhere down the street a dog barked. My chest felt too tight. "Don't fall," she said. "I won't," I answered. That night I heard her pacing upstairs long after midnight. The old wood complained under her steps. The house breathed with her. Rain tapped the windows. I stood in the kitchen and stared at the orange notice through the glass. I told myself I was only here to save the house. My heart already knew that was a lie. The house fought back the next day. I was finishing a run of baseboard when a sharp popping sound came from the basement, followed by the smell of hot metal and something burnt. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied in a way that did not feel safe at all. "Great," I muttered. "Elena," I called. "You hear that?" She appeared at the top of the basement stairs, already holding a flashlight. "No panic, just ready. Main panel is down there," she said. "I mapped it when I bought the place." The word mapped told me a lot about her. The basement was damp and colder than the rest of the house. Old stone walls. Concrete floor. The breaker box sat on the far wall, humming softly like it was thinking bad thoughts. I flipped the main off hard. The house went quiet. No hum, no buzz. Just the soft tap of rain on the little basement windows and our breathing. Elena stood behind me, holding the flashlight steady on my hands. Her beam did not shake. "Talk me through it," she said. "Loose connection," I answered, opening the panel. One of the terminals was scorched. Old wiring, old insulation, fixable. But if Vance walks in tomorrow and smells burnt plastic, he will call this unsafe and stall us for a week. Elena's mouth tightened. "Then we do not let him smell it," she said. She reached into a folder she had brought down with her and pulled out clear plastic sleeves. Inside were printed photos, before and after shots of every repair we had made so far, each page labeled with the date and... "I started a record," she said. "If he tries to rewrite what is happening here, we show proof first." I looked back at her in the flashlight glow. The beam lit her face from the side, picking out the tired lines and the stubborn set of her jaw. "Good," I said. "Because I am tired of his story, too." We fixed the wiring, aired out the basement, and by the time I turned the main back on, the lights came up clean. No flicker. No smell. Upstairs, Elena worked like a woman building a case. She staged each room as we finished it. Not fancy, just smart. A chair angled just right. A lamp that threw warm light. A throw blanket that made you forget the house had ever smelled like mildew. She painted over old stains, scrubbed until the air smelled like lemon and soap instead of dust and fear. She was not pretending the house had no past. She was forcing it to have a future. 2 days later, a new paper appeared on the door. A small red notice was taped right over the orange one. "Stop work pending review." No signature, no clear reason, just a warning. Elena tore it down and read it with a face that was almost calm. "He is trying to slow us," she said. "Then we speed up," I answered. "If the bank freezes my draw, I am done," she said quietly. "No money, no crew, no firm." "Then we do not give him a reason," I said. "We keep this place so clean he has to lie to make us look bad." Her eyes met mine. Something in them shifted from fear to focus. "Materials," she said. She pulled out her phone and opened a spreadsheet. Columns of numbers, dates, delivery receipts, photos, hours, receipts, photos, she said. "If he wants a story, we hand him ours first." Respect hit me simple and strong. She was scared, but she was still building structure around the fear. I knew that move. I lived by it. After that, the routine sharpened. I worked at dawn. By 7:30, my coffee was there on the porch rail. Black. 2 sugars, no note, no talk, just there, every single morning. I started my own quiet habits. On rainy days, I left a folded towel by the back door because I noticed she wiped her wet hands on her robe when she was stressed. I fixed the thermostat when she forgot, and the house dropped to meat locker levels. I put a clean, unchipped mug next to her laptop before investor calls because she always reached for the cracked one when she was nervous. She pretended not to notice. I pretended the same. One gray afternoon, the sky over Briar Glen turned the color of wet steel. The wind came up fast. The tarp I had tied across a bad section of roof started snapping louder and louder. I set the ladder, checked the angle, and started climbing with a roll of tape and a hammer on my belt. "Liam," Elena's voice cut through the gusts. I looked down. She stood in the open doorway with her hair pinned back and the same headlamp from the basement strapped on. Painter's tape hung from one wrist where she had been working. Rain hit her robe and soaked it in dark streaks. "Go inside," I yelled. "I have it." "No," she called back. "You said 3 weeks." I am not letting weather steal one. She stepped out on the porch anyway and grabbed the ladder rails with both hands, her feet planted wide. Her robe whipped around her, but her grip did not move. Another gust slammed the house. The ladder kicked sideways an inch. My stomach dropped. "Look at me," she shouted, voice sharp and clear. 3 points of contact. Slow, 1 step at a time. I listened, not because she was the client. Because right then, she was steadier than I was. I climbed down, 1 hand, 1 boot, 1 breath at a time, until my feet hit the porch. The wind pushed at my back like it wanted me gone. When I stepped off the ladder, Elena did not let go right away. Her fingers were tight on the rails. Her jaw was tight too. I did a quick check of my arms. A loose nail had scraped a line along my forearm. Blood mixed with rain running down to my wrist. Elena saw it. Her eyes widened for half a second, then narrowed like she got mad at the sight. "Stay still," she said. She went inside and came back with a clean towel. It smelled like soap and a little like lemon polish. She took my arm in both hands, gentle but firm, and pressed the towel over the cut. Her fingers were warm. The storm noise faded for a breath. It was just me, her, the towel, and that small, careful touch. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she stepped back like she suddenly remembered every rule she had ever made for herself. "That is better," she said, voice a little rough. "Yes," I answered. My own voice did not sound steady either. The kiss did not happen that night. It waited. 2 days later, the house decided to test us again. We were in the kitchen. The new pipes were in, the last of the old rusted lines pulled out. I was checking one joint under the sink when a spray of cold water hit both of us right in the chest. Elena yelped and started laughing at the same time. "Of course," she said. "Of course this happens today." She dropped to her knees beside me without thinking. We both wedged under the sink, shoulder to shoulder in the tight space. Her robe sleeve brushed my arm. Her hair fell forward, and I could smell her shampoo, clean and soft under the scent of copper and wet wood. "Move," I murmured, reaching for the wrench. She shifted an inch. Our faces were too close when I looked up. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then back to my eyes, like she was trying to decide something big in a very small space. I should have backed out from under that sink. Instead, I said the only honest thing I had. "Tell me to stop," I said quietly. I did not move closer. I did not touch her. I just gave her the choice. Her throat moved as she swallowed. The sound of water dripping into the bucket under the pipe seemed louder. The whole house felt like it was holding its breath with us. That was the moment when everything could still go back to normal. If she said stop, I would have. She swallowed once, then lifted her hand and wrapped her fingers around my wrist. "Don't," she whispered. That one word was enough. Clear. A choice. I moved slowly, giving her time to pull away. She did not. Her fingers slid from my wrist to my jaw, warm and firm, like she was anchoring me. I leaned in, and our mouths met in the cramped, dark space under the sink. It was not gentle. It was not polite. It was 2 tired people who had been holding their breath too long, finally letting it out. Her hand tightened on my jaw. My palm found her waist. The wet pipe dripped beside us, while the whole house went quiet around that kiss. She broke it first and rested her forehead against mine. Her breath was fast. "This is a mistake," she said softly. Say it again, I said, and I'll stop. She did not say it again. Instead, she kissed me a second time, slower, like she was testing a new truth. I kissed her back and forgot about loose pipes and bad wiring and orange notices for one long, simple moment. 10 minutes later, we were standing in the hallway, still close. My shirt damp from the water, her robe spotted with it. My hands were on her waist. Hers were flat against my chest, like she was making sure I was really there. Then my phone buzzed. The sound cut through the air like another nail in the door. Unknown number. One photo. One line of text. The picture loaded first. Grainy. Shot through glass from outside. It showed me and Elena in the kitchen, close enough that anyone could twist it into their favorite story. Then the text appeared under it. Conflict of interest. Not illegal, but very unprofessional. I bet the bank and your investors would love to see how you spend their loan money. Sleeping with the help usually kills the competent management clause. V. The cold I felt had nothing to do with the wet shirt. Elena saw my face. What is it? She asked. I turned the phone so she could read it. I watched the color drain from her cheeks, then come back in a harder line. He was outside my window, she said. That means he was on my property. Quote, I looked toward the side window. Rain streaked the glass, hiding anything that might be out there now. If Vance was still in the yard, I could not see him. He wants a scandal, I said, my voice low, not just a citation, a story, something he can send to the bank and your investors. Elena did not freeze. She moved. She crossed the hall to the small table where she kept her laptop and pulled up a security app I had not seen before. I stage houses for a living, she said. I know how to control a story. Camera feeds popped up. One showed the side of the house. We watched the recorded video. Vance standing in the dark just outside the window, phone raised, taking the shot he had just sent me. Elena's jaw clenched. She hit record on the clip and then opened her messages. I am sending this to Chloe, she said. Chloe lives in Chicago, I said. The old name felt like a bruise on my tongue. She checks her phone, Elena answered, and she knows people at the bank. She sent the video and the text thread with one firm tap, then set the phone down. Her hand shook once before she pressed it flat on the table. The storm did not hit that night. It waited for morning. At sunrise, a formal stop work order was taped right over the old orange paper. This one had Vance's signature bold at the bottom like a trophy. By 9 a.m., Elena's phone was ringing non-stop. She ignored the first call from an investor. She answered the second. By the third call, her face was pale and tight. They called my investors, she said after she hung up. Her voice cracked once, then she forced it smooth. Two of them are reconsidering participation. One asked if I am managing the project in a professional manner. Quote, the phrase sounded like a slap. We can fight that, I said. We have logs, receipts, photos, the video of Vance on your property. She gave a short, humorless laugh. Liam, they do not invest in wood and nails. They invest in me. In my judgment, my name, my reputation. If they think I mix my private life with their money in a way that makes them look foolish, they leave. Quote, she paced the parlor in a buttoned blouse and dark slacks, back in full armor, lipstick on, hair pinned. A perfect picture of control with a crack running straight through the center. This house is my relaunch, she said. If they pull out, I lose the firm. My staff loses their jobs. I lose everything I built after the divorce. I took a step closer. Then let me stand next to you, I said. We face it together. And give them more to whisper about? She shot back. She picked up her laptop and turned the screen toward me. An email sat open. Subject, management concerns. Project oversight. The body was full of polite phrases with sharp edges. We need assurance the project is run with professional boundaries. Investors cannot be exposed to reputational risk. I can survive a bad roof, she said quietly. I cannot survive people thinking I am incompetent. Silence pressed in from the walls. Outside, the first drops of rain hit the glass. She looked toward the window like she could see Vance's shadow still standing there. "If you stay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "he keeps aiming at us. At you. At me. If you leave, maybe he calms down. Maybe the bleeding stops." My chest tightened so much it hurt. "You want me to leave?" I asked. She still did not look at me. Her hand lifted to the window frame, fingers curling around the wood. "I want you safe," she said. "I want my investors calm. I want this house finished. I want you not to be the headline they use to call me unfit." She turned her back, like she could not say the next words to my face. "Please," she said, "go before I beg you to stay." The truth sat there between us. Heavy, real. I could argue. I could fight. I could make things worse. So I did the hardest thing I knew how to do. I picked up my tool belt. "I am leaving," I said, my voice rough. "Not because I am scared of him. I am leaving because I am scared of what he will do to you if I stay and give him more to use." She did not turn around. Her shoulders shook once, then went still. I walked out. The sky was already dark over the trees when I crossed the county line. I turned on the radio just as the emergency alert cut in. Severe storm warning, high winds, debris risk, stay indoors, avoid travel. Rain started hitting the windshield in sheets. The wipers could not keep up. I pulled over to the side of the highway and sat there, hands tight on the wheel. I saw her in my mind, standing in that half-fixed house, the stop order on the door, the orange notice, the bad roof, the man with the camera, alone. My foot moved before my brain did. I turned the truck around. By the time I got back to Briar Glen, the storm was in full swing. The yard around the old house was a mess. Branches down, a trash can rolling across the driveway. The porch light flickered like it was about to give up. Elena stood in the doorway. She wore that headlamp again, band snug across her hair. The robe was back, pulled tight against the driving rain. The beam from her light cut through the storm and found me like a lighthouse. "You came back," she shouted over the wind. "I'm not letting the roof peel off," I shouted back, grabbing my ladder. "Or you," quote. A gust slammed into the side of the house. The ladder shuddered in my hands. Elena stepped out into the rain and grabbed the rails. 3 points, she ordered, slow. The storm roared around us. The house groaned. I planted my boots, braced the ladder, and started to climb. The tarp on the roof was beating itself to death, flapping like a live thing trying to escape. Up top, the wind felt stronger, meaner. Shingles lifted and snapped. The tarp ripped at one corner and tried to drag me with it. A piece of metal flashing tore loose and slapped my shoulder. Pain shot down my arm. "Rope!" I yelled. Elena's answer was fast. "Here!" She passed the coil up. I tied the tarp off to the chimney and shouted instructions. She wrapped the other end around the porch post with a knot that held hard. When the wind hit again, the rope pulled tight, but the ladder stayed. I crawled on my stomach, hammer in one hand, nails in my teeth, fingers so cold I could barely feel them. Each slam of the hammer sounded like its own small prayer. 1 nail. 2. 5. 10. The tarp stopped fighting. The flashing sat flat. The roof held. "Elena!" I yelled. "It's holding!" She looked up into the rain, light cutting across my face, and nodded. Her hair was soaked. Her robe was plastered to her frame. She had never looked stronger to me. When I climbed down, my legs shook from more than the cold. Elena let go of the ladder and grabbed the front of my wet shirt with both hands. She yanked me closer. "You idiot!" she breathed. Her voice trembled. Her fingers did not. I did not try to smile. I just told her the truth. "I can take a storm," I said. "I cannot take you thinking I am the kind of man who leaves." Her throat worked. She blinked water out of her eyes, rain and tears mixed together. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't leave." That was the second signal. Clear, simple, real. I lifted my hand and cupped her jaw, thumb brushing the line where her pulse beat fast. She leaned into my palm like she had been waiting for it. We kissed on the porch in the middle of the storm. The wind kept screaming. The rain kept falling. But inside my chest, The panic finally went quiet. I did not know how we would fix the money, or the bank, or the damage Vance had already done. I only knew two things. The roof was holding, and I was not going anywhere. Morning felt strange. The storm was gone. The sky was clear and bright like nothing bad had ever happened. The yard looked like a battlefield. Branches everywhere. A big limb across the fence. Mud on the steps. But the house stood. No leaks. No new stains. The tarp held. The work held. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and lemon cleaner. Elena sat at the kitchen table in a fresh robe, hair damp, a mug in both hands. I stood at the counter in dry clothes from my truck, bandage on my arm, feeling the kind of tired that lives in your bones. "You should sleep," she said. "You should fire me if I suggest that," I said. "We have a stop work order on the door in a half-wrecked yard. The new inspector will be here soon, one way or another." Her mouth tipped up at one corner. "You came back," she said quietly. "I told you," I answered. "I am not the kind of man who leaves." Quote. Before she could answer, a heavy knock shook the front door. Her whole body went still. I moved first. Vance stood on the porch with his clipboard. Two police officers stood behind him, uniforms neat, expressions blank. "Mr. Callahan," Vance said, voice smooth and bright. "Working under a stop order during a storm. Dangerous. Reckless. I am afraid this looks bad for both of you." He glanced at the officers. "Violation of a stop work notice. Unsafe conditions. Trespass," he said. "I thought it best we handle this properly." Elena's spine went straight. I could feel her tense beside me. I slid my hand to the small of her back, not to claim her, just to steady her. "The storm would have ripped the roof open if I left," I said. "The homeowner asked me to protect her property. That is not trespass. That is duty." Vance opened his mouth to argue, but another car door slammed at the curb. Footsteps hurried up the walk. Chloe came into view. She looked different from the last time I saw her at 18. Older, sharper. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy knot. Her blazer was wrinkled. There were faint shadows under her eyes and dried watermarks on her sleeves like she had washed her face in some gas station bathroom sink. She stopped on the porch, took one long breath, and looked first at Elena. "Hi, Mom," she said. Something in Elena's face cracked and softened at the same time. Then Chloe turned to Vance. "Good morning, Inspector Harrow," she said, voice flat. "Miss Sterling," he said quickly, "you should not be here. This is a code matter. I was just about to explain to the officers that your contractor has been violating." "No," she cut in. "You were about to twist the truth to save yourself." She held up her phone. "My mother forwarded me your text and the photo you took through her window," she said, "along with the video of you trespassing on her property at night." One of the officers shifted his weight. Vance tried to smile. "That is a misunderstanding," he said. "I was doing a safety check. The relationship between your mother and her contractor creates an obvious conflict. The bank—" "I work in compliance in Chicago," Chloe said. "I see real conflicts. I know what harassment looks like." She turned to the officers. "I would like to file a complaint for harassment and attempted extortion," she said calmly. "Inspector Harrow threatened my mother's financing and tried to use a personal photo as leverage. Also, his brother-in-law's LLC has bought 3 condemned houses in this town in the last year. Every single one was marked down by his office first. You can pull the county records yourself." The officer on the left cleared his throat. "Inspector Harrow," he said slowly, "we are going to need to look into that." Vance's grip tightened on his clipboard. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "They are trying to cover up their own mess. Look at this yard. Look at the damage." "Storm damage," I said. "Documented. Time-stamped. Every repair has a matching record. Photos, logs, material receipts. We have nothing to hide." Elena stepped closer to the door. "And I have a video of you outside my window taking pictures of me at night without my consent," she said. "Do you really want a judge to see that and hear about your brother-in-law's shopping habits at the same time?" For the first time, Vance looked unsure. The officer on the right nodded to him. "Inspector," he said, "we should talk. Somewhere else." They took him down off the porch, not in cuffs, but not as his backup either. His clipboard looked small now. hanging at his side as he walked to his truck with both officers next to him. When they drove away, the yard went quiet except for the drip of water and the soft whir of the porch light. Chloe let out a slow breath. Then she leaned her forehead against the doorframe for a second, like she needed it to hold her up. "You really drove all night?" Elena asked. "Yes," Chloe said. "Left Chicago after my last client call. I did not want to risk missing the morning if the bank made a move. I stopped twice for gas and once to change my shirt in a bathroom." She looked down at her wrinkled blazer and gave a small, tired laugh. "I look like a wreck," she said. "You look like my daughter," Elena answered. That simple line seemed to fix something old and sharp between them. Chloe's eyes went bright. Elena reached out and took her hand. They stood there for a second, fingers linked, old hurt and new worry sharing the same space. Then Chloe looked at me. "Hi, Liam," she said. "Hey, Chloe," I said. We both let the past sit where it was. High school felt very far away. "I already sent the video and the messages to a friend in lending," she said. "If he called the bank about you, Mom, this is going to look very bad for him, not for you." Some of the tension in Elena's shoulders eased. "Thank you," she said. "Next time you have an emergency, call me before the storm," Chloe answered. "I did not want you to worry," Elena said. "You always worry," Chloe said gently. "You just do it alone." Elena's eyes dropped to their joined hands. Her voice went softer. "I have everything," she said. "The company, the house, the investors, the plan. That is what I told myself after the divorce. I have everything except someone to hold my hand when I am scared." Her fingers tightened on Chloe's. Chloe glanced at me, then back at her mother. "Maybe stop trying to do the scared parts by yourself," she said. 2 weeks later, a new inspector from the next county came out. He walked the house with a flashlight and a notebook, quiet and thorough. He checked the beams in the attic, the wiring in the walls, the roof line I had fought for in the storm. He opened cabinets, flipped switches, tested outlets. I walked behind him, tools in hand, heart in my throat. Finally, he closed his notebook. "Work is solid," he said. "Roof is secure, electrical is up to code, site is clean, the stop work order is lifted, you pass." He handed Elena the signed form. She did not cheer. She just closed her eyes for a full second as if she was letting the good news sink all the way in. Then she looked at me. We both breathed out at the same time. The open house was not just about selling the project. It was proof. Investors filled the entry hall with their coats and quiet judgment. Neighbors came too, some curious, some supportive, some just wanting to see if the Sterling place had finally fallen down. The old chandelier in the foyer was on for the first time since I had started. Clean glass, strong bulbs, the light spilled over the polished floor and fresh paint, making the whole place look like it had fought its way back to life. I stayed at the edge of the room, near the front door, watching people move through the space. It felt like the first night I walked in, and like a completely different house at the same time. Elena stood halfway up the stairs in a deep green dress that made her look like all the strength inside her had finally been turned into something visible. Her hair was up. Her shoulders were bare. Her eyes were clear. "Thank you all for coming," she said. Her voice carried easily. "A lot of people told me this house could not be saved." There was a low murmur. A few investors looked around as if they were remembering their own doubts. "A lot of people told me I was taking on too much," she continued. "A failing property, a tight deadline, a storm, a fight with the bank, a fight with the past." Her gaze found mine at the edge of the crowd. "But one person kept climbing onto the roof when everyone else said it was safer to stay on the ground," she said. "He kept this house standing when it wanted to fall. He kept me standing when I wanted to fall." She walked down the stairs. She did not stop by the biggest investor or the mayor. She walked straight to me. The room went quieter with every step. She reached out and took my hand, not hiding, not careful. Her fingers slid between mine and squeezed. "I would like you to meet my partner," she said, "in this project and in everything after." Liam Callahan. The word partner settled in my chest like it had been waiting for a place to land. For a moment, nobody moved. Then someone clapped. Then another. The sound spread through the foyer, filling the high ceiling with noise. "You good?" she murmured. Only for me. I did not give a speech. I just squeezed her hand back. "Yeah," I said, "I am good." We made it through the open house. People asked questions. Investors nodded. Neighbors whispered. But nobody could deny what they were standing in. Solid walls. Dry ceilings. Clean lines. A house that should have died and did not. Hours later, when the last car pulled away and the lights turned low, the house was quiet again. Lena and I stood in the foyer under the chandelier. Her heels were off now. Her hair was loose. She looked more like the woman who had opened the door in a robe that first day than the one who had just commanded a room. She laced our fingers together again and lifted our joined hands. "Looks like I do not have to hold my own hand when I am scared anymore," she said. "You never did," I answered. "You just thought you had to." She smiled, soft and real. Outside, the night settled over Briar Glen. The town would keep telling stories. It always had. It always would. They could say whatever they wanted. I knew the truth. I had walked into this house thinking I was here to save a building. I had tried to keep my rule. No clients. No lines crossed. No promises. Instead, I found a woman who could build a record, face down a bully, fight for her company, and still admit when she was scared. I found out that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is reach your hand out and let someone hold it. She was my ex's mom, my client, my problem. She became my partner, and I became the one who stood on the porch beside her, ready to knock down every notice that tried to tell her she would lose.